Today I'm going to be doing a deep dive into Steve Hamilton from the Property Circle. You may have seen this guy on YouTube where he uploads videos of himself in a Lamborghini, claiming to be a multi-millionaire property developer, and inviting you to his Property Circle where you can do the same. However, I paid £2,000 to join his Property Circle and the reality was completely different to everything you see online. Stay tuned and watch till the end as this gets more and more interesting as I uncover exactly what I discovered.
My name's Stephen Hamilton. Everybody wants to see the glitz and glamour. I am here to show you what a real property millionaire's week actually looks like.
To put this into context, I myself am already a property investor with a small portfolio and I initially paid £11 to attend one of his training days. During this event, he said that he rents his properties directly to Birmingham City Council and they pay 30 times the going rate on a fixed long-term contract. One example was £225k house where the council rent it directly from him for £365,000 per year. This blew my mind and I was excited to learn more, so I paid the £2,000 fee to join his Property Circle. It was this point he agreed to come on my podcast, which I actually was excited for, but more on that later. After joining, it seemed he didn't spend much time mentoring his members, to be honest, but selling them on the opportunity to invest into his deals. I asked Steve if I could get some mentoring to discuss my business plan, to which he laughed and told me his mentoring was 25 grand. What did I actually pay for? His joint ventures that he pitches to all his members are not actually joint ventures at all. Upon reading the contract, it's simply a loan agreement with no security, no end date, and no actual property details, like the address, for example. So just giving him money with the hope that you receive a 10% return. Also, he will sell you package deals, but many members I spoke to said to me none of the deals had actually materialised. For me, it seems like it's a bank for Steve. People coming to him and giving him money and hoping that they'll get a 10% return. I decided the only real benefit for me now being a member of the Property Circle group was to net with other members in the community and see if I could learn from them, which I did. And this is when it got really bad. So many of his community people have loaned him 10, 20, 30, 40, 150,000 for his learn and earn scheme, and they still haven't got their money back and they're going into legals right now. I spoke to one guy who told me that Steve doesn't actually make any money from property himself. He just borrows money from his community to fund his lifestyle and his Lambo. So one investor, who I won't name because it won't be fair on him, texted me personally saying, "Gem, please don't loan Steve any money. He managed to get 50 investors, including myself, to invest in 260 Gregson Lane, Preston. He bought it for $285,000 and promised us all to be involved and make 10% interest minimum for the year."
Latest purchase, very, very, very special project with 50 members of the Property Circle. You can see the branding behind.
I put 10k in. However, he just never bothered to refurb it and end up selling it at a loss to another one of his investors for 210k after paying 285. As you can imagine, I had to fight for years to get the money back, and I am sure he paid me back with new investors' money because the project made a loss. Also, he refused to refund anybody unless they would sign a contract swearing never to speak of the matter to anyone else, as this would jeopardise new investors coming on board. Gem, be careful of this man. That sounds lovely. When I announced I was doing a podcast with Steve, that's when loads more messages like this started bombarding my inbox. I didn't know what to do at this point, but decided to go ahead with the podcast, but just ask him about that particular property in Preston to find out what really happened. When I asked him about it, he said that he was still involved with the project, but yet he sold it. This baffled me and I kept coming back to try and understand, as I could just tell he was just pulling the wool over my eyes. At this point, he walked out of the interview and started messaging me saying I couldn't broadcast my podcast. I just wanted answers. So did the 50 people who put money into that deal that were messaging me because they saw I was interviewing him. He then sent me a legal threat from his criminal lawyer saying, should there be any adverse social media coverage that impacts his business or good name, then we are instructed to issue legal proceedings against you for the libel and slander. We would advise that the footage is deleted without any delay. This is when I realised the extent which Steve Hamilton will go to. He will silence anybody that questions him. I mean, all I did was simply ask him one question. I published a legal threat on social media to show that I'm not scared of him, and then many others have DM'd me telling me that they got the same threat from the same criminal lawyers, but luckily it seems to me that they're all bark and no bite. They haven't followed up once. And not only that, they don't even have a legal case in the first place. But even worse than these legal threats is that he has threatened people to come to their house and have it out with them. A man that I know, Simon Olsen, who I greatly respect, is a great property investor and a letting agency, said that Steve had threatened him to pay him a visit late at night to his home address if he didn't remove a piece of content where Simon was just only questioning about Steve's company's account.
The earn as you learn. Let me translate that for you in terms of a property trainer. What that actually means is you pay me to be on my course, and then I'm going to borrow your money because I don't actually know how to raise finance. That's what earn as you learn means from property trainers.
As worrying as this is, especially I'm pregnant, I just couldn't say nothing when I had first-hand experience of being part of Steve's property circle and seeing what he's actually up to. The video on social media of Steve storming out the interview has gone a bit viral and probably is one of Steve's most popular content he's ever had, thanks to me.
Yeah, I don't want to continue. Okay. No. I'm not being funny with you.
Well, you are being funny. You're walking out.
No.
You are?
I'm not.
Okay. You're welcome. So Courtney Rich messaged me and also recently has made a statement on my YouTube channel saying, I signed up for a JV2 with the understanding I would get my money back after 12 months. Unfortunately, no property was purchased. I also know a lot of people who are still waiting to get their money back after years investing with him. Sharing this so others can be aware of my experience. Bazza also commented, Steve Hamilton claimed to build and develop the houses on Old Oscott Hill in Birmingham B44. I happen to know what site, and when I commented, he blocked me. Another example of Steve pretending to do development and raising money, but nobody's sure where the money is actually going. In his learn and earn contract, it even says the money will be used at the borrower's discretion, and if the project goes over, it may be longer than 12 months. No mention of how much interest, if any, will be paid after the 12 months. And there's no way of knowing what project you are even investing in, as there is no address on the contract. So basically his investor's money is just tied up until Steve decides to give it back, with the amount that Steve decides, and only you can get it back if you sign an NDA and promise never to talk about what happened. Is that even legal? I really don't know. Now there's a whole group on WhatsApp dedicated to students trying to get their refunds and investors who haven't been paid back from his learn and earns that has gone on over the time. If they comment on his social media, he instantly deletes it and blocks them from commenting again, and also some might even receive threats. This isn't right. I don't think I'll ever get my 2k back from Steve Hamilton, to be honest with you, from the property circle, despite actually getting nothing apart from loads of stress, wasted time. I can't even claim the VAT back because he doesn't even have a VAT registered number, which again seems strange for a multi-millionaire.
How to build a multi-million-pound property business, explained by me.
It also runs the fastest growing property network in the UK. So next time when you see Steve Hamilton, ask him, are you VAT registered? And also, if he's ever going to give me my £2,000 back. Even as an educator, his knowledge in property seems very basic, especially in development where it's almost non-existent. He claims to be buying all this land and building houses and constantly describes himself a multi-millionaire property developer, because that's what he says. I'm a property developer. But when I asked him on the podcast about SIL and Section 106, he didn't even know what it was. So how much do you pay on the levy then?
In what sense?
Because you pay SIL, right? Because that's been replaced by a Section 106.
Okay, so All of this is brand spanking new
Oh, right,
to me
so you
land.
don't know?
Yeah, I've just
right,
bought
okay.
the land with planning permission.
Oh, right,
I paid
okay. This, for a developer, is like a dentist not even knowing what a toothbrush is. And then he quickly backtracked and saying that his specialty is HMOs. So which one is it? But then he claims to be buying land to develop dozens of houses.
Where I've purchased like a piece of land with 6 houses, a piece of land with 9 houses, a piece of land with 10 houses. I am a developer first, and then I'm an educator second.
He must either be a terrible businessman going into developments without a clue what he's doing, or he's telling lies to raise some money. Apart from borrowing money and driving a Lamborghini, I can't see any evidence of success anywhere. There doesn't seem to be actually one single property owned in Steve's name or by a company that Steve actually owns. So go on Company's House right now and you'll see it for yourself. In my opinion, I just think he's talking in order to hoodwink newbies to borrow their money to fund his lifestyle, and I don't think there's any development of his own, personally. At the last and final event I went to with Steve, I finally got the answer to the golden question I actually wanted to know, the one that actually enticed me into joining his property circle. How does he manage to generate 365 grand from the small house he has in Birmingham? And this is the most shocking part of it all. He literally said on stage at his event, I just bribe Birmingham City Council. I gave them 50 grand backhander. Welcome to the real world of business. Are you joking me? Is this what I paid the 2 grand for, is learn how to bribe the council? This is literally exactly what he said in front of a room of witnesses. One guy in particular was outraged and said, no wonder why Birmingham City Council is bankrupt. I don't even believe he bribes the council, because if he does make 365 grand off one house, the profits would show in his Company's House, wouldn't it? You can't see any profits. But maybe he does. Either way, that's not how I want to run my business. Looking through his account, it is clear that this guy has very little money and makes next to zero profit. If he's just borrowing money and living off it, just to live his lifestyle, the only part he does is pay the noisy investors who are actually going through legals, who've been kicking up, constantly hounding him, and they might get a small bit of money out of him. This never-ending borrowing cycle with no actual profits being made. So that's why he doesn't show any profits on his company's accounts. Most of them, right? Go and look at Company's House, please do. After this video, go and look for it. Are overdue. And they're about to be struck off, or not, even in his name. Steve Hamilton seems to be the master of art of closing down companies left, right and centre and opening new ones with a different name. But Steve has never given any explanation on why his accounts are all over the place and are showing no profits. Do you even have any millions? Are you actually a multi-millionaire? Because you can't see it. He actually does own some properties in Blackpool. But guess what? You guessed it. They're not even in his name. They're in Isabella's name, his partner, my Isabella. And he claims to own a mortgage company called the Property Circle Mortgages. But again, you guessed it. Surprise! It's not even in his name. It's in the name of Richard Tunney. Steve is not a director or a shareholder. And if he's doing this to get around FCA regs, isn't that a criminal offence? In my opinion, it is obvious, people, that he puts everything in everyone else's name to prevent investors being able to sue him and get their money back through the courts, like his earn and learns. Because he puts himself down as a security, as a personal guarantor. Seems like an intentional move from Steve. I would rather put my life savings into a national lottery than invest with him. And I wish I'd never, ever invested 2k with him. So yeah, Steve, Rebecca, the executive PA, feel free to give me back my money back, because this isn't the last of me talking about it. But despite me losing my money, if this video just saves one person from losing theirs or fighting years to get it back, then I guess it's all worth it. Right, my lovelies, I hope you found this video useful. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this and drop a comment down below. Thank you for listening.